3 days I spent in my bed, grappling for air. It was hard to breathe. I was told to lay on my stomach. I was told to make sure you lay on your stomach. Fevers, 102.7. Chills and body aches like I had never felt before. It felt like every piece of my body was in pain. I was coughing. They say it's the COVID cough. It was a very different cough. It felt a little wet and dry at the same time, but I'd never felt anything like it. COVID-19 had entered my body sometime in that period between and celebrating my daughter's 32nd birthday in Charlotte, North Carolina. We had driven in from Atlanta. My son had just celebrated his 33rd birthday. And after the birthday party was over and we were on our way back to Atlanta, it felt like the longest drive ever. We had to pull over to the side of the road and I had to go use the bathroom, a public bathroom at Target. Now, if you're going to use the public bathroom, let it be Target. But I knew that I was sick. It didn't feel right. We got back to Atlanta, and on that Monday morning, my daughter rushed me and my husband and the whole family, because she's the logistic one, over to have a COVID-19 test. Now, I've already been tested prior, but this moment, on the way to that testing site, I became agitated and irritated, and I began to aggravate my daughter. Now, this is actually her birthday, and December is a special time for my family. Both of my children were born in December. We celebrate. My granddaughter is 10, and we celebrate Maddie like never before. We turn up for Christmas. And we were headed for the first time ever to go on a family winter vacation. I was going to be a black girl skiing, and I was excited. My daughter got us all wrapped into this beautiful idea of going to Colorado to go ski. Now, we were going to do every precaution to make that trip happen. But when I got back to Atlanta that Monday morning, rushing out the door to go have this test, and on the way there, like I said, I was aggravating my daughter. I didn't know it, but my head was pressed against the window pane. You know, it felt like the big C word for everyone who's been diagnosed with cancer. It felt like someone was about to tell me that news and that I had X amount of time to live. We got there. There were other people lined up, car by car by car by car. It just felt so eerie. Like, could this truly be my current life situation? Questions started to form in my mind. And I was in a place far away from that COVID test. She came to the car and she began to share with us all what the procedure would be. I was watching the woman outside my window who was in the car next to me. And she seemingly was having an experience that wasn't like the one that I was feeling inside. So I'm like, hey, I want to be where she's at. So evidently she has gotten a negative test result. But all and everything in me, the recesses of my body, my consciousness, the spirit being, my pain body picked it up. You're going to be positive. Before she even swabbed. And when she swabbed, it felt like everything entered, that swab entered my brain. Everything began to swirl for me. She checked my lungs, and my lungs, she said, sounded as if I had a little bit of congestion. My husband then, he's sitting in the front seat with my daughter, begins to get a little worried, and he's like, hey, babe, are you okay? Now, at this moment, I don't know if to say I'm okay or not. I don't want to go to a hospital. For me, the hospital represented something that I wasn't prepared to have that experience. COVID-19 is serious. People are dying. 2.3 million people to date, plus, have died globally. And I didn't want to be one of those people. But nonetheless, my heart and soul was with each one of them in that moment. And from that moment, I had to battle COVID-19. There was a moment in my experience, in the middle of the night, days in, I did not think I would make it. I just really shut down. The total me, the inspiring me, the encouraging me, the woman that believes all things are possible and you can do all things through Christ. I was so done. I was scared. Seriously, I was scared. And I normally am that warrior woman, but I know what I was scared of. I finally understand what I was scared of. My fevers were so high. My family was gathered. My breathing was not so great. And I just knew they were going to have to take me to the hospital. But I fought and I fought and I fought for my positioning. I was going to live. Every minute I could get a lucid thought through, I was going to live. There's still more in me. There's still more in me. I have more to do. I have more to put out in the world. In this very moment, we all have more to do. Unreleased successes. I came by to give you a glimpse of what's still in you. You know, I had a Kensho awakening. That moment where pain actually awakened me to know that there was still more for me. I've accomplished some amazing things in my lifetime. I've overcome teen pregnancy. I've overcome poverty. I've overcome losing $1 million of my assets in the real estate crash of 2008. The housing crash changed my entire life. I woke up hungry, homeless, and hurtling around for what was next. And my dog went through it with his family. My 2 children were in college, and I was scared to death. That was that moment in time where I had to find my unreleased successes. I had to say, what's more for me? This is not the place I'm going to die. This is not the place I will be left with unrealized dreams and goals and innovations and ingenuity stuck down in my belly. In this moment, you have unreleased successes. That's what I came by to share with you. That's what I came by to deliver to you. That's what I came by to give you a glimpse that you, just like me, we still got more work, more joy, more peace, more glory, more ideas, more innovations, more goals, more desires, more dreams, more moments that will take our breath away. It's not going to take a Kensho awakening for you, because I came by to let you know you don't have to go that route. Buddhist Zen says that there is this idea of the Satori moment, Satori. Satori moments are those moments of insight, a burst of insight when you hear something, right? And you feel something. You're using all your senses, your touch, your smell, your hearing, your taste, everything gets in connection in that moment. The universe starts to deliver a message to you and it starts to download. And then you get so excited because in that moment, you have a stroke of genius. You feel it. You get it. It's like an aha moment. Where a Kensho awakening is like my COVID experience or your COVID experience or someone that you know dear that you may have lost during this COVID journey. But for sure, we don't have to have painful awakenings. We can enjoy life because this is a message for the living, for us to decide that we're going to pursue life and happiness, a life fulfilled. But how do we get there? Lord, I've heard this before. We want a life that's fulfilled. I've heard these stories before. So what's so different about what you're selling, what you're sharing, what you're telling me? What's different is you have not explored them. The difference is you've not explored them. See, it's one thing for someone to tell you, you're great, you got it, go, do it. But it's another thing for you to know it in the deep recesses of your body. And that's what was happening even to me. Out of all the successes, heck, I made $33 million in my 30s. I made $33 million my total sales in the real estate business. In my 30s, I became a millionaire. In my 40s, I became broke. And now in my 50s, I'm going at it again because I decided there was more in me. There was these unreleased successes, the ones that I've yet to touch, the ones that I've yet to experience, and that's what you have. You, like me, you got that. How do you explore it? But the biggest question is why? Why are we afraid to explore all of us? Because it's predictable what we'll find? Why are we afraid to go in our deepest recesses of ourselves and go find that acres of diamonds that exist inside? Because we don't know what it looks like in its rough state. Why? Why are we afraid? Like my Uncle George. You know, when I had that one moment that I was laying in the bed and I began to really go back. Because when you're looking at your life, right, whether you're going to make it out of a thing, whether you're going to wake up the next morning, my husband had fell off to sleep while he too was battling COVID, and he was amazing at taking care of me because he got right back up. He was asleep, the house was dark, everybody was tired, and I had awakened in that moment. I had a moment of prayer and meditation, and I had this way back vision of my Uncle George. George Washington actually is my uncle's name. My grandfather was George Washington Sr., my uncle was George Washington Jr. He was a poet, he was an artist, he was a son, and he was my mother's big brother. He was a father. He also was a heroin addict. My uncle served in the Vietnam War like so many other young men, and he came back from the war a heroin addict. And in that moment, I knew having this vision was so powerful for me. My uncle taught me how to use words to express my life and how to use words to actually inspire others. So I've been doing this thing called speaking since I was 13 years old, storytelling. As I thought about my uncle, beautiful, and how he would come and save us from poverty moments and things that were not so good at home, I remember this. I remember that while, yes, he was a heroin addict, and yes, he died that way, aside the road, in a pamper, he remained a drug addict, addicted to heroin his entire life. I remember him telling me there was so much more he wanted to accomplish. And that's what I remember, what he had not accomplished. The acres of diamonds. So many of us in this moment are going to have to search for it. So you're going to have to look for it. You're going to have to go inside and actually begin to search it out. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? There's an amazing story about an African farmer. This African farmer, he looked all around Africa for diamonds. He heard that there was diamonds in the diamond mines, and he wanted to find his. He went all around to find those diamonds, to no avail. He did not find them. He looked and looked and looked. He searched, he searched, he searched. He became despondent. He became discouraged, and he threw himself in the river and drowned. He sold his farm. And you know what's so amazing is this farm was full of diamonds. The farmer that took his farm, he searched and he searched and he searched. And one day he stepped across a little stream and down there was a shiny object. He picked it up and guess what that was? A diamond. He sat on his mantle. A guy came along days later and said, "Do you know what you have in your hand?" He says, "No, it's just like this dirty old rock." He said, "That is a diamond. This is the most incredible, most expensive diamond in all of Africa." The reason that we're not releasing our successes from inside is because we haven't taken the time to search them out. We're looking for them through algorithms, through tweets, through posts, through friends, through coworkers, through messages just to come and just knock us on the head. That's not how this is going to work. You're going to have to do the work. Search out your acres, because inside is everything you need. I'm excited for you in this moment because now you got a glimpse of what it can be, because the programming that you've had, it will no longer be what the rest of your life can be. The program when people told you to be quiet, what you got to say didn't matter, your feelings, they're just not important. Every single piece of your consciousness that's speaking to you in this moment is pulling for you. It's cheering for you. It's calling for you. And it's connecting you to your greatest you. Go find your unreleased successes. What is it that you want? Go get it. And you go be great.